Hello everyone, this is the sixth video for Microsoft Access 2007-2010. In this video, I just wanted to add some more elements that you'll be able to use as you go about using Access. So I'll do a few things in table, queries, a little bit of forms, and also report. And I'm going to try to talk to you with Access 2007. I am using Access 2010. And at the end of this video, I'm going to try to share a little bit about Access 2010 because they've added some new features that you are able to do in table for which before you had to do it in queries and forms and reports. So with that said, let's get going, and I'm hoping that I'll continue with these type of videos where I'll try to create some sample database and try to show you more, trying to solve some problems. I'm trying to learn more as I keep going forward, and as I learn and feel comfortable, I'll try to share it with everybody. So here what I've done is I'm trying to create like a company order database where I have the information of the company. There's that table where I've typed the name of our company that I'm working for. There is a list of customers. There is an employee list because this is a sales related company, so I've got a list of employees deciding which employee is selling what. Table order details, table orders and things like that. So I've split up each and every element that you would have in a company: payment method, how are you going to pay, the actual payment, so when you receive money, how is that going to work, the product category. I'm trying to do in here is different types like music, DVD, so these are the categories. The products, these are the actual products with the categories and unit price and cost, and I can add more if I need it. And the shipping method, which is, are you using UPS, FedEx, something else. And I've also created all the relationships for this database, and I'm going to leave a copy on my website, and I'll put a link here in the description on the bottom so you can go and download this, and you'll be able to open this in Office 2007 to Access and also 2010. Make sure you have the updated service pack for Office 2007 to open this file. So I'm going to go to Database Tools, and I'm going to click on Relationships. And here you will see that I've actually created the relationships to all the proper fields where I need it to be. Like the order section, the employee ID here is connected to the employee ID in here. So as you know, relationships are always from a primary key in one field, one table, to a secondary in another table. Usually that's the way it works. So, and the relationships are usually one to many. That means up here I only want that employee one time, but here that employee ID and the name will be repeated multiple times. So you can do that. Now, in my previous video, I had shown you how you can create your relationships. So I'll just remind you again. So I'm just going to right click on this table order detail, because what I want to do is I want to take this order ID and I want to relate it to this one. So I can right click on this, go to design view, and in the order ID I can click here and start the lookup wizard. And you may remember that you can go through this option. I want to look up a value from another table, and then click next, and then choose the table that I want to use, which is table orders, and click next, and then I just choose this. So that's one way of doing it, but I want to show you the other way of doing this. All you have to make sure that the order ID here, the data type is number, because my table order, I'm going to right click here, go to design view, order ID is order number, so the data types have to match, otherwise you will not be able to create the relationship. When we use the lookup wizard will automatically change the data type when you are doing this. I'm just going to close this and also close this. Say yes to save it. And I'm going to take this order ID, left click and hold it, and drop it on this order ID. So here it's showing me the table orders table goes to related to table order details. Now you'll see the conventions I've used here, like I've said TBL, CEO info, TBL customer list. So it's easy to read that that's the table. When I'm doing a query, I might put QRY and then the name of the query, or form FRM, report RPT. So just a convention that you can use. And now it's going to create a one-to-many. That means that in the order details, this order ID can repeat multiple times, I don't have a problem. If it was a one-to-one relationship, that will be a problem, because then I can only have one order ID with one time only. And you can go to the join type and you can choose different join types. I can even enforce referential integrity. That means, I'm just going to move this guy a little down. That means in this table, I've got all these order dates and ship date. Now, if these same fields like order date was in this order detail, it will make sure that it is matching. So that's what the enforced referential integrity means. And you can choose to do cascade delete related records. It means that you can delete the order in this first table, and it will allow you to do that. But if you don't put a check mark here, which I'll show it to you, it will not let you delete this order ID because some orders from the details will be related to it. So it will become clear once I just finish doing this. So I'll click create, and there it is, one too many. Now in the other ones, I don't see that symbol for the infinity, but if I click here, right click, and go to edit relationships, you see it says one too many, which was created through the lookup. I'm going to hit save and I'll close this. Now if I double click on this table orders, so now I've got the plus signs because I've added some orders in the order details. So now if I try to delete this record, so I'll go to home and I try to delete the record, it's going to give me an error message saying that, hey, you guys, there is a relation to this other table, and because of that you cannot delete it. But if I had chosen that option, cascade delete, this will be allowed to be done. I can click OK, I can close this. I'll just show you table order details, and here I can delete these because this is not the main primary table. This is just the one which is associated to the table orders. I'll close this. Okay. So now I just want to add some table properties information. So I'm going to right click on this table orders and I'm going to go to design view. Now what I want to do is for the order date, I want to show you how you can put a default value that automatically it will be today's date. All I have to do is put the equal sign, type NOW, now, and you'll see in 2010 you start to get this option here on the bottom. That is called IntelliSense, which is not available in 2007. It's pretty cool because it starts to give you all the functions which are related to that alphabet. So when you type N, it starts to give you all the other functions starting with the word N. So I'm just going to type it and I'm going to put start parentheses and close the parentheses. That means put the current date. So if I hit save and I come to the data sheet view, you see it puts today's date in here. Today I happen to be on 31st March, and there it is. We'll come back to design view. Now you could have a field called time, and if the format you set it to say long time, and I come back to save it and come to data sheet view, it will put the time there. And if you wanted, you could just choose general date. That means it will put the date and the timestamp on all the orders which are created. So I'm just going to extend this. So you see there with the new ones, the old ones doesn't have it, but the new ones do. So this is a good feature. So all your orders will have a date stamp on it. So not a bad feature to use. So all you have to do is put equal and then the nouns with the bracket. Now the same way for ship date, say if I wanted to put a default value that all the shipping dates automatically should be 10 days from the date you take the order. So I can put equal now, doesn't matter whether you type lowercase or uppercase, plus 10. So I can do that. Let's see if it works. Save it. And there it is. You see ship date, it says 10th April. It's added 10 days to this date. So nice feature if you wanted to set some default value. You may remember default value in earlier where you could put Canada or USA when you had a field called country. So automatically it will be there. I'm going to delete that. The next thing I want to tell you about is the validation rules. Validation rules means you can set a value and say that if it doesn't match this value, it is not going to allow that. So say for example, for this validation rule, I'm just going to go to the table order details design view and say in the quantity field, I put this validation rule greater than 0. That means nobody can create a order with 0 quantity. So let's see. And you could use rules like greater than, equal to, so you can use those type of values. And in the validation text, I can say enter a positive number greater than 0. So if I hit save, come back to design view, and in the quantity, if I try to enter 0 and I hit tab, I get the error message, enter a positive number. Now if I put 1, it allows me to type it. So this is where the validation rules can come into play. I'll come back to design view, and I'm just going to remove that because we don't need it. The other thing I want to bring to your attention here is what is called indexed. So for this, let me go to design view of the customer list table. Say for example the company name, because I want to find these things faster when I'm looking for a company name. So you see the option for indexed, I've turned it to yes. So you see on the right hand side you get all the information where it says an index speeds up searches and sorting on the field but may slow updates. So you got to be careful where you use this. You don't want to use it everywhere because then things will start to slow down. So say for example the employee list, I can right click, go to design view, and I want to say the last name I want to index. And duplicates are okay because there will be some other people with those last names. If I wanted the first name to be indexed, then I have to choose the option yes, and duplicates okay. Or you can say no duplicates. So you can use these options to do indexing. And on the top in the table tools design, you see the option called indexes, where you'll be able to see all the things that you've indexed. You can click close to it. And I'm just going to close all the tables. Say yes to saving them. It's best to close things so that you don't get confused. The next thing I want to show you is that how we've been creating lookup, where I can have the cities listed as a drop down. You can actually create a query and then have that query show up in your lookup. So let's understand that. What I want to do is this employee list table, I'm going to open it. I want to create a new field here that will join the first name, middle name, and the last name together. So to do this, I'm going to create a query and then tell this table to go look up that query to get the names together. So I'm just going to close this, and I'm going to click on Create, Query, Wizard, Simple Query, click OK, and I'm going to use the table employee list. Now you see, because I had clicked on it, that table showed up there. Otherwise, you'll have to click on the drop down button to choose the one. And I'll say, you know what, I want the first name, I want the middle name, and I want the last name. And I'll click next. And I just go to modify, and up here I'll just write the proper name. So I'll type QRY, query full name. And I can click finish. Now in the previous video I did talk about how to do this. I'm just going to do this here, and I'm going to type full name colon. Now if I want to zoom in a little better, I can use the zoom option. So if I want, I can right click and I can go to the zoom, or I can even click on the build option. And you can also use the build option here on the top. So either way. So the build option, you can see it a little better. And you'll find that in this build option, you can actually go through your functions and you can find the different functions which are used. So here I can start typing first name, and you see in 2010 the field names start to show up. This is what's called the IntelliSense. So if I can just double click on it, and then I can write it. But I've already typed it, so I'm just going to come back to my notes. And if I just wanted the first and last name with a comma, I would have used this. The and symbol is what joins the words together, what's called concatenate. But if I want the first name and the middle name and the last name, I'll take this. I'll copy this and I'll come back to Access, and I'll paste it. So what this is doing is I want the first name and quotations with a space in the middle, and middle name and quotations with space, and last name. So if I click OK, and let's run this. If I run it, and you see it gives me the first name, last name together. But the problem is here is that I've got two spaces here because this middle name is empty. I'm going to come back to design view. I'm going to right click here, go to build. Now instead of just leaving it like this, I want to put an if function here saying that if the middle name is null, which is empty, don't try to leave a space extra. So I'm going to come back to my note, and I'll leave some of these in the description, and some also have it part of my attachments. When you download it from my website, a zip file, you'll get this part of it. So I'll take this if function, copy it, and I'll come back here and just paste it in its place. I'll click OK, and let's run it. Now you see it's done the same thing, but there is no extra space here. Wherever there is a middle name, it puts it there. I'm going to save it and close this. Now I want to go to my table employee list, and I want to tell it that look up the query. So I'm going to right click here, go to design view. I'm going to scroll down and say I just want to put here, and I'll put, in fact, you know what, I'll just put it after the last name. So I'll click here and I'll add insert a row, and I'll put full name. Remember, don't put spaces between field names. You could always use the caption and put a space there. So the field name, you always want to not have spaces there. And in the field name, if you wanted, you could put capital, instead of capital L, lowercase l, and that's allowed. This is what's called a camel case. So you got this lowercase and this uppercase, so you can read it easily. But I've just got into the habit of doing this. But a programming habit is to do camel case. So full name, I'm going to go to lookup, and in the lookup, click in the box, and I'm going to choose combo box. And you see it's chosen the option called table and query. I'm going to click in this box here, the row source, which is what is the source of your query. And I can click here, and there is the query full name. If you wanted, you could even click on the dots and create your own new query right from here, but I prefer to do it the other way. Now I just need to do something here, but before I do it, let me show you what happens. If I hit save and I come to the datasheet view, and in the full name I've got the drop down, but it's only showing me the first name. So what's going on here? So let's look at it. So what I have to do is I have to, in the column count, in my query I have first name, middle name, last name, and also full name. So that makes it 4 columns. So I'm going to put there 4. And out of this 4 column, I only want to see the last column, which has my full name. So let me just right click my query and go to design view. So you see, I don't want to see the first name or the middle name or the last name. I only want to see the full name field. So I'm just going to close this. So here I'm going to put 0, 0, 0, 1. That means don't show the first column, second column, third column, but show me the 4th column. That's why I put there number 1. I'm going to hit save, come to the datasheet view, click in here, and there it is. So you can create these queries, and then you can have them related. So, and you could, in the query, you can do all kind of calculations. You can do the sale price minus cost, which is your profit. So you could create that field and you can have it related to something, so that you can do these things. So it's pretty cool. So I can, if I wanted, I could just choose the options here. Right, and I can close this. Now I want to create a query which will help me to create a invoice, like so that I'll be able to create a report and I'll be able to run this query, and then I can say that create an invoice for order ID 2. So to do that, I'm going to create a query. So I go to query wizard, simple query, and I'm going to use the table orders. Add all the fields, click next, and up here I'll just write the word QRY invoice, and I'll go to modify, click finish. And what do I need to do here? All I need to do is in the order ID, in the criteria, I'm going to put the bracket, what order number, and I'll close it. So if I run the query, it will ask me the question. I'll put number 2, and it will show me that. I come back and I run it, I type 1, and I get that. And if I run it again, type 3, I'll get that. Okay. And I'll come back to this when we create the report for it. The next thing, let's look at creating a query for all the orders that have been created, and you want to create a report that will ask you the question which month and which year. So to do that, you want to create a report, you got to create a query and then create a report based on that query. So let's create a query using the wizard, simple query, add all the fields. I'll click next, and in here I'll write query order by month and year, and I'll modify the design. Just move this up, and what I'll have to do is I'll have to create a new field here for the month question, and because I'll be putting a criteria there, what month, and also a criteria called what year. So I'm just going to come to my Access file, I'm going to copy this, and I can even go to the builder and I can paste it. So what it's saying is the month is the word I want to use, so that is a reminder for me, and that's the name of the function, month, and I want it to look at the order dates, and I click OK. And in the criteria I put the question, type the month in number, that is, type 12 for December. And I'll do the same thing for year. So I'll come here, copy the year, and I'll leave this notes. When you download, it will be a zip file, so you'll be able to download the zip file, unzip it, and you'll find this notes in there. And I can go to the builder if I want, and I can paste it. Click OK, and here I'll type what year, and I'll click run, and it will ask me the question, type the month in number. So I have one entry for December 2012, so I can put 12 and then the year 2013. Something went wrong. Just come back. I typed the wrong thing, so when I run I need to put 12 and then 2012, not 2013, and then click OK. So I've got one entry. I'll come back, and if I run and I say 03, which is March of 2013, I should get some entries here. Maybe run, I'll put 3. So I've got 2 entries, so it doesn't have to put 03, just 3. So you see now it adds that column there, month and the year. Now that information we really don't need when I'm doing my report. So if I wanted, I could go back to the design view and just remove the check mark for the option called show. And you can always sort things if you wanted to sort it by date or the employee's ID, so it will try to group them together. So if I want, I can remove that, and I can click run with 32013. So now I don't have those because I don't need it, so it's not really necessary. I can close this and I can say yes to saving it. Let me show you one more thing you can do in a query. Say for example, in my table employee list, I've got this date when they were hired. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to do a query where I'll be able to find out who's been working at this company for how long. So I want to do that. So what I'll do is I'll create a query wizard, and I'll add all the fields because I can always remove it, because even when I create a report I can remove the fields I don't want part of the report. Click next. I'll call this query years on job, and I'll click finish. And I'll go to the last section here, and I'm just going to come back to my note. Now I could just highlight this, which is that's just the name of the field, years on job, now, which is the today's date, minus date hired, which is the field I have. So if you look at it, that's the name of the field I have. And you have to make sure you type the right field, otherwise the computer will have no clue what to do. But if I do that, you will get the information in like numbers, like days. So what I want to do is I want to format it, and I want to say give me the answer in years. So you see it's got format, bracket, now, comma, years, minus format. So I want both of them formatted to year, so the subtraction will be for year. So if I highlight this, copy, and I'll just go to my builder and I'll paste it, and I'll click OK. Now if I run it, I should have, there it is, 8 years, 7 years, 6 years, 2 years. So if I run this report based on this query, my job is done. I can just choose their first name, date hired, and region, and years on job, because I don't need any of the other information. Click close and say yes. And whenever you have any such questions, you can always go to the help section in the right hand corner, and you can even try to find all different types of dates that you can get. So you'll find there's a lot of different things you can do. You can go into expressions. A lot of these things we are doing are part of expressions. Calculated field in a table, creating an expression. So you can go through them. There are a lot of different types of functions in the expressions. If functions, and functions, date functions you can use to figure out many different things. Now I just want to show you a few options with forms, like how to look at forms with the same thing. The ideas are the same with expressions. The only difference is you have to put an equal sign. So let's look at a few options. So I'm going to go to Form Wizard, and first time I want to create a form for table order details, where I have the quantity and the unit price, so I can show you the calculation for subtotal. Click all the fields, next, next, and I'll just call it FRM order details, and I'll click finish. So here my subtotal is not there, so I'm going to click here in the corner, go to design view, and I'll click on the subtotal, and right in this box I can start typing equal, or you go to the property sheet, or you can even right click, and let's see if the option comes up. Right click and you should get property sheet, or you can go from here, and I can click on this dots in the control source within data, because that controls the source. I click in the dots, I see a big screen, and to remove that, just type equal, bracket, quantity. Now you see this is the 2010 feature called IntelliSense, so I can just double click it, multiply by, and if I don't even put the bracket and I type unit, it comes up and it puts the parentheses for me, so I don't have to remember it or make mistakes. In 2007 this is not there, so I click OK. So you see it puts it there, and I click go to the form view, and you see there it is, the total has shown up because I put the equal sign there. And you can even have like a field. If I wanted, I could put a new field there called discount, and I can use the if function if I wanted. So let's look at that. So if I go back to the design view, and I'm just going to expand the column a little bit, make room for it, and I'm going to look for this option on the top. It's called text box. I click it, and I'll just make like a small space for it, and now the property sheet showed up there. So I want to put the if function here, so I can go to the dot for the control source under data, and here I can put equal IIF, and I've already typed the whole thing, so I'll just bring this from here and explain to you what I'm doing. Copy it, and I'll just paste it here. So you see the if function again, the first part here is the statement, your expression, which is subtotal, which is my subtotal. So I'm just making a test. Subtotal is greater than 30, comma, what should I do? I want to give them 10% discount. So I'm doing subtotal multiplied by 0.90. Otherwise, just put subtotal. So this is like the discount part, or I can just, instead of by 90, I just say point. So I want to give them 10% discount. Otherwise, not subtotal, I can put 0. So that means if the subtotal is greater than 30, they'll get 10% discount. Otherwise, they'll get nothing as a discount. I click OK. And I can change the, because I'm using a big font size, a lot of this information doesn't fit, and your computer it should. So under format, let's do the format and say this will be a currency. And under other, the name, I want to call it discount. So I think that should, sorry, I shouldn't change this. This should be text 15. This is fine, but I want to change this guy. So I'm going to click on it first, because otherwise I'm changing this one. And the label 16 is where I'll be making the change. So in this section, I'm going to come to format, and I'm looking for caption. So that's where the caption is what will be changing, and I'll call it discount. Hit tab, and I'll just line this up, and I'll just extend it a little. Click here, and I want to move this guy. So let's look at it. So I'll go back to, and there it is, $4. So you can use the if function here. So there are a lot of different ways you can use these options, if functions, and even a lot of the expressions for dates and all of those things will come into play. So I'm going to close this, say yes to saving it. Let's look at some of these options in reports. I'm going to go ahead and delete this query invoice which I created, because I hadn't added all the important fields in here. So I'm just going to delete it, and I'm going to recreate the query using the wizard. And what I want to do is I want to use the table orders. I need the order ID, customer ID. I don't need the employee ID. I need the order date. And I want to get some fields from order details, because that's where the details are coming from. So for that, I can say let's get the order ID, which will be maybe not even order ID, maybe product ID, quantity, unit, and subtotal. So I'm creating a query with all of these. I'll click next, next, and I'll again give it the name QRY invoice, and I'll go to modify, click finish. And so one thing I want to do is in the order ID, I want to put the parameter query, what order number, so that people will put 1, 2 for the order number, and then it will get you that. And for the subtotal, I'm going to right click and go to build, put a colon, and then I want to say that the subtotal is quantity, make sure you type the right thing, multiply by unit price. So you see with 2010 it just makes it easy. Click OK, and I'm just going to make sure it was alright. I'll click run, put the order number 2, because in that I have 2 products. So there's the order number, both of them same order number, same company, and number of quantity 1, unit price 1, subtotal is 150, quantity 2, unit price 2, subtotal is 80. I'll save it and close it. So now I can create a query, a report based on this query, and I want to show you something here. So I'm going to go to report wizard, create, and it's already there. I'll add all the fields, click next. Now it's going to put the order and the customer ID up there, and underneath it it's going to put the product ID, so that it will list all the products. If I want, I can have it all in line, but this way is better. I can click next, next. Now this summary option feature is new for 2010, and if you wanted, you could just click here and you can say do a sum of subtotal, and you can just choose summary only because you don't need the detail. So it's a nice little feature they've added, but I'm going to show you how to do it manually. Click next. I'm going to make it landscape. You can have it portrait and then rearrange it. Next, I'll call it invoice. This will be in the report section, and I can just click preview, finish with the order number 2, and there it is. I just need to go back and make some adjustments. I'm going to close the print preview, and I'm going to make some arrangements to make it fit in nicely. So the unit price, I don't need all of that space, so I'm going to just reduce it. And the subtotal, I'm going to bring it in, and just, I think that's fine. Now what I want to do is I want to put a summation of the subtotal values. So there is this section here is for the page footer, which is on the bottom of the page, and the report footer, I'm just going to increase this width, and here I'm going to add a label text box. Click it, and I'm just going to drag it a little bit here, and I'm going to click in here, and I can put equal SUM for summation, bracket, that's the parentheses, and this is the bracket, and I'm going to add the word subtotal. So if you look at it, I put equal sum, and if you know Excel, you can do max, average. You have to make sure you type the right wordings. This has to match this subtotal here. Or you could go to the property sheet and then click on the dots, and then you can use this up here. So all the difference is equal sign, which you don't do in the query. For forms and reports, you have to put equal. I'll close this, and I'll click on the text, go to the property sheet, format, caption, I'll change it to, this is total, and anything else? Alright, we'll come back and look at a few more things, and I'll click on the view, enter order number 2, and let's see if that worked. There it is, $230 total. Now before this, if you wanted, you could have a tax field there, and you can say that tax field will be equal to total multiplied by 13%. You can do that, and if you then wanted, you can have a grand total, which will be the total of total plus that. If you just want to look at it, we can try to do one of them again. Design view, extend this a little bit, add another of these labels, and I can put equal, tax is equal to total, which is the name of this field, multiply by 0.13, say 13% tax. So did I put the equal sign? Yes. So let's see if it worked. I think I did something wrong. Let's go back and fix it. Let's think about why I got the wrong thing here, because I did total multiplied by 0.13, which is 13%, but let's see what is this total field here is called. So if I go to the property sheet, and the name of that total is text 17, so that's why it didn't work. If I had changed it to that, then it will work, because that name is what is being used. So if I come here and I'll change that to text 17, and I'll click here and go to property and give the format caption, I'll call it tax. Let's see if this works this time. It's only asking me that one question. Good. And there it is, 29.9, which is 13%. Now I can just create another field and then do text 17 plus whatever this tax field is. So let's look at that just briefly. This field, when I go to property, other, text 19. So it will be text 17 plus text 19, or you can rename it to text TAX, then it will work. And if you wanted, you could always format it. So we can look for the format option, make it currency. And so when I go back here, and there it is. And we can even fix this problem with this borders around it. So I'll show you that. So let's come back to design view, because that's where we have to change things. So here in this design view, I'm going to click on that field and I go to property sheet, and in the format section I'm looking for border style, and I'll change it to transparent. I'll do the same thing with this guy, property sheet, border style, make it transparent. And also these product ID, property sheet, format, border style to transparent. Let's see if this works. I'll come back to, and there it is. The borders are not around it. The company has it, but you can go back and fix it. You can change the name from customer ID to just the name of the customer and any other information you wanted to have. Okay. So now this invoice is ready. Every time you run it, it's going to ask you the question. So if I run this report, it's going to say if I put the number 1, now I've got that other, and all the information stays the same. So I can make that format currency, so it will be lined up, and I can line these things up, put one more grand total field, and add all of these two fields together. So your invoice is ready. You can come back and you can change the names if you want it. I can close this. Now the same way, we also have a query by month and year. So you see, now you can create a query for all kind of things. You can create a query to find things by employee sales. So you can create a query and then create a parameter query for that. So if you start understanding these options, you'll see that it's very easy to start adding things, and just need to learn all these different elements of how things work, and you can learn even more, because if you think I can do this, maybe I can do something else. So let's look at this query by month. So if I create a report wizard, add all the fields, next, report landscape, next. And if I run this report, it's going to ask me what month of the year. So if I want it from December 2012, I didn't type it right. December 2012, there it is. I have my one record. But now if I wanted, I could go back and I can create a summation of the sales or whatever, and then get my report ready. Now the last thing that I want to talk about here is an extra feature which is available in 2010 in tables. So I'm just going to come to the employee list. And if you remember, we added this full name field here using the if function. But in 2010, I don't have to create a query. This is my empty field here. I click in the column drop down, and I can create a calculated field right from here. I don't even have to go to the design view. So if I want, I can create a text, and now here I can copy and paste my if function for the middle name being null. I click OK, and you see it automatically fills it up. Same way, if I'm in my order details, for the subtotal, I'll have to redo this because that subtotal is set up for text. But I can go to this new one, calculated field, currency, and I want to do quantity multiply by unit. Let's see if it works. There it is. So you can do all of your calculated field right here. You do not have to go to query the way we had to do it in 2007 and earlier. So all the things that I talked about earlier could be used for 2003 also. And once you've added this field here, I can right click on it, and I can also go to modify expressions. And now I can go ahead and modify the expression. And remember that you can always go to the functions At the bottom here, go to built-in functions, and here you'll find all the functions, and you can go through the conversion functions, and when you click on it you can read the information on the bottom, and you see you can click on these buttons here too, and that will open up a help menu where you'll be able to read more about that function. So this is a good way to start understanding by just looking at it and understanding what is possible. You don't have to memorize everything, just understand what these functions do, so that when a problem arises you'll be able to use one of these functions. So all the functions that I've used earlier, like date and time, so you see there is all these options. The month option, there's also a month name function that you can look at. The year, so you can always click here and read more about it. And the help section is also here. The text section, there are different options to do with functions with text. I'm going to click OK here, and also you can always go to the design view, and now in here when I go to that new field I created, the field 1, you see it has a data type called calculated. So you could always do this from the design view, and there is the expression on the bottom, and I can always click on the dots at the end and it will open up the expression builder. And you will find this option in 2007 in the query, the expression builder, and you can go through all the different functions. And I can always go ahead and change this to whatever I want to call it, a subtotal or whatever you want to call it. You can save it, and I can go to the datasheet view, and there's the name has changed. Hope this helps you to understand a little bit more about Access and also the relational database, because you can see how having these type of relationships helps you to create reports and queries and all of that features. And I'm hoping that as I learn more I'll come back and share more with you using another sample example solving some other type of problems. Thank you for watching.